We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south-of-the-border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. Or maybe you're in the mood for seafood. Big Sur Oyster Bar has fresh seafood prepared right before your eyes. Savor freshly shucked oysters, crab legs jambalaya, shrimp and lobster. Beers on tap and a selection of fine wines are perfect to pair with your seafood favorite. Whether lunch or dinner, you'll love this fun atmosphere, located just off the casino floor. Ready to shake things up? Step back in time and treat yourself to one of the oldest restaurant chains in the country. Steak and Shake, famous for original mouth-watering steak burgers and hand-dipped milkshakes in a variety of flavors. For some old-fashioned fun, try Steak and Shake.
It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles and Alex White.
Welcome in. It's Sports by the Book here on a Saturday morning. Nothing is Sean's fault, guys. I apologize, Sean. Now we're talking on Martin. We'll explain what that means in about 7 minutes from now. I'm Jeff Parles. Alex White's here as well. There's a trend with the Bills that Sean brought up to us that the market is very aware of. Let's just go with that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Yesterday, playoff-wise, Alex, neither game was overly competitive. The Texans-Chargers game took a very weird way to get to non-competitiveness.
Yes, it did.
Justin Herbert threw more interceptions yesterday than he did the whole season. Always a good sign when that happens in the biggest game of your year. But regardless, seed chalk, not betting chalk yesterday. Texans win as an underdog, but as the home team, win by 20 games somehow. I mean, if you had the under, I mean, it's calamity of calamities to not get there. And then the other game, Baltimore really get a 21-0 cover was pretty much in play the whole way. And in all honesty, the way that game trended, if you had the under, you survived, and you got there in that second game last night, Alex.
Not a great day for me. Looking for a bounce back today. 0-2. Sean was not here, but I did update him, so he's putting it on the record. I did have the over in that Baltimore game. It looked like it really should have gotten there. But shout out to Lou Finicaro. I'm glad he came in and gave us a few picks, and he did give us Mackenzie Dern, and she did win, so that was a nice plus 170 price that did save my day. But apologies to everybody who did tail the Chargers money line or the spread, and a good performance from Houston's defense. Really, that's what it came down to. We'll see how they can do next week against the reigning champs in the Kansas City Chiefs.
We'll see how it plays out. Again, if Buffalo gets upset, then of course, then we'll get Houston and Baltimore for the second straight year. But if Buffalo holds serve, like, well, we'll get to in a moment, then it'll be Houston and Kansas City for the second time in 4 weeks for Kansas City, because these two teams played the Saturday before Christmas. And we'll get that mega matchup between Baltimore and Buffalo, which would be a hell of a game if we manage to get it, which would more likely than not be next Sunday. All right, let's get to it here today. Let's start with the first game on the board, and the bettors have been active. Well, they've been active in all these games, but they've been really active this morning on this one, Alex. The Bills hosting the Broncos, Western New York, Highmark Stadium, the site. Weather report first, before we get to what's going on in the market here. So, boy, we missed the lake effect snow warning by one day, which really would have created some havoc if that was the case. The weather here is pretty darn good, all things considered. Right around freezing at 33, 7-mile-an-hour winds. The snow's not coming till later in the day. Ideal, more than you would expect for this time of year in Western New York, and the bettors, because of that, have been all over the Denver Broncos because of course they are, Alex. Market highs behind us at 8. It's 7.5 everywhere else, with a total of 48.5 on this one, up from the opener of 47.5.
So I made this number 7. Buffalo 7-point favorite at home here. So I do understand the move. I jumped in a little bit at Broncos +9. Can't really give it out now because you can't get it anywhere. But I do expect Broncos to do what they do best and run the football and grind it out. And their defense has been very good. And I overlooked the Chargers yesterday and their strength of schedule. They're about 29th toughest schedule. But the Denver Broncos have actually played a pretty tough schedule. 24th in the league. Buffalo right there at 20th. So I'm expecting their defense to keep them in here. I don't love it now. I like that 9, having that little bit of extra cushion there. But if you look at the numbers too, it is a little concerning. I did the median number. So Broncos median numbers on the road, losing 23-17 against their 6 toughest road opponents. And if you look at the Bills at home, last 5 home games, the median number is 30-21. So that's a little concerning, but I think Sean Payton will have his team ready for this one. And yeah, I like the dog to keep it close.
Just going through a few things on both of these teams. Obviously, we've talked about the improvement of Bo Nix going from arguably the worst quarterback in the NFL the first 4 weeks of the season to being a legitimate offensive rookie of the year candidate, at least for a little bit, when then Jen Daniels ran away with it. Well, it was already well ahead, but really put it away over the last few weeks, especially that week 17 game against Atlanta. I'm going to rattle through Denver's wins this year real quick. At Tampa, it does not get better from there. At the Jets, the Raiders, at the Saints, Carolina, Atlanta, at the Raiders, Cleveland, the Colts, the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad. Taking out the Chief game, which I didn't use it all for either data point on either side. That Denver team with that defense is supposed to beat up Carson Wentz and the Kansas City backup defense, which they did. The other 9 wins, other than Tampa, they didn't beat a single over 500 team the rest of the year. Against other over 500 teams, here's what they did. They lost to Seattle week 1. They lost to Pittsburgh week 2. They lost to the Chargers twice. They lost by 31 to Baltimore. And then they had 2 close losses. They should have beat Kansas City the first time. Of course, remember, that was the blocked field goal game. And then they lost in overtime to Cincinnati in week 17. So 1 win against high-level competition for this Broncos squad. Now, that presents the question of, were they just bullies against the weaker teams on their schedule, or do you take the closer losses and say, all right, their defense, at least against Kansas City, hung in. Cincinnati, yeah, since he got to 30, but that was not a bad defensive performance by Denver. Remember, that game kind of lost its mind late. Cincinnati had 17 points with a minute and a half to go in that game. So Denver's defense actually held up relatively well in that game against a high-end offense in Cincinnati, who I think is probably the best comp for this Buffalo team. Bills have been great in the opening round of the playoffs with Josh Allen. When they've been at home, they have not lost. All their losses their only loss in Wild Card Weekend in the Allen era came on the road at Houston in 2019. That was also because before Josh Allen was Josh Allen, Alex. I just want to ask you now that we're at 8, before we get into more on this, teaser-wise, I know you like Denver at 9, but would we tease Buffalo down to 2 here and find a dance partner in these remaining 3 games after this as a potential play here today, Alex?
I don't hate that at all. That would be a nice middle for me as well, because I do think Buffalo ultimately wins this game. I just think there's an opportunity for the backdoor cover here with the Broncos. So, yeah, I like that, getting under that field goal there with Buffalo.
That that backdoor cover, the door was open for Pittsburgh last night about 4 different times. It just didn't want to crash through. Didn't want to crash in the end. I will ask you this, Alex. Of course, we have this wild MVP debate between Allen and Lamar. If you go off the All-Pros earlier in the week, it looks like Jackson's going to win his third in 5 years, or 6 years, I should say. But for Allen, who had a tremendous year, has been much better protecting the football than he has in the past. QB rating is second best, other than, of course, that 2020 season where he was, which I would still say as a whole was the best season of his career. 2021, by the end of it, was his peak of his powers. But you just wonder with this Denver defense that, look, you're in a scenario here where Denver's got to rely on this defense to stay in this game. I just wonder, too, with this total betting bopped up, even with the great year for Allen, you couple Denver's defense, you couple a rookie on the road in the playoffs. Yeah. I just wonder if that total's too high now at 48.5 as well.
I think that total's right at 48. I don't have a play on the side or the total. I actually did a lot of props, though, in this one because I was really looking at Buffalo's receivers, and all of their prop numbers are way too high, except for Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, I got 25.5. I went over that. His median on the year is 34. If you take out the one game, the Lions game, where he only played 32 out of 70 snaps, then his median's actually 55. But he just has so many different receivers, Josh Allen, that he goes to. So Dalton Connects is a little bit too high. It's 36.5. I would only go under that. Shakir's too high. It's 53.5. His median on the year is 46 at home. So looking at unders for some of the receivers, I like Amari Cooper over, and I like James Cook over his receiving yards at 12.5. And also his receptions, I got over 1.5. So just looking at some of those guys, you can't really do anything with Denver. It makes it a little tough. I think Cortland Sutton's numbers correct. And if you think that Denver's going to be playing from behind, we might have to see Bo Nix throwing the ball more. So, yeah, those are my props. Nothing for me on the total. You feel one way or another? You think it's a little too high?
Yeah, maybe slightly high. But again, we've seen Buffalo's offense just go full nuclear in these early round games. Of course, that New England game from a few years ago still stands out where they legitimately did not punt in that 47-point outburst against New England a few years ago. Now, again, can't go too much into it. Rosters, obviously, at least this Buffalo roster, very, very different other than number 17 and a few other guys. But, of course, remember, the wide receiving core is so different now than it has been through the Allen era with just the select few guys hanging around. Favorite prop for me is Bo Nix to throw a pick at -140. I wish the price was a little bit better. Go search. You probably could do better than that. But Nix against a defense that I don't think Buffalo's defense is all that good, Alex, but they're very opportunistic. This kind of feels like, especially if Denver's chasing, Nix is going to take chances that he necessarily wouldn't take. I think you're going to have a wide lane in order to get a pick out of Nix here today. Again, I wish the price was a little bit better, but I don't mind laying a price on Nix to throw an anytime interception. The pass attempts is actually the most interesting one on the board for me today, if we're going quarterback-wise. We'll get to the anytime touchdowns in a moment. 35.5 on Nix's attempts. Now, Denver's run game is one of the more peculiar run games in the NFL because you're dealing with a team that, Alex, do we even still know who Denver's number one back is? It's a team in the playoffs. We have no idea still. Right. Like, they are a very weird team when it comes to running the football. If you look at the average, they're at 4.1 yards per carry. That's pretty average to mediocre when it's all said and done. Their leading yards per play rusher this year was Bo Nix at 4.7. Their leading rusher, period, was Javonte Williams at 5.13. He averaged less than 4 yards a pop. Jaleel, if you're going off pure run, not counting Tyler Beatty, who had 3 carries for 11 yards this year, or 11 carries for 86 yards in only 3 games, suffered an injury very early in the season. You're talking Jaleel McLaughlin at 4.4. You're talking about pretty average numbers from this run attack, where I think this is just going to be on Knicks' arm in order to stay in this game. Even against a run defense that isn't particularly great in Buffalo. So Knicks over attempts at 35.5. I also like that as well, Alex, on the quarterback end.
Depending on the script, that how you think this game is going to go, I don't mind that his median on the year is very consistent. It's 33 throughout the entire season and 33 at on the road. So very consistent there.
So just need the pop in the right way then.
Yeah.
It's not like if we were coming in and like you're saying, his median or his median was like 30.5 or something like that, then
right.
Be a little bit different. Yeah. And you're just asking for two more with the correct proper game script in this one. Go ahead, Alex.
And if you want to look at some of the road games, I mean, 40 against the Chargers, 42 against the Rams, attempts that is. 33 against Baltimore, and 42 against Seattle.
Just
playing from behind.
Bad game script games more so than anything. The Baltimore game was such a bad script game that it didn't even get to 35 because they were down so much.
Correct.
In that game. All right, the anytime touchdown market. This is where this gets fun here tonight. We want to go hunting here. By the way, real quick, don't bet Dawson Knox to be the first touchdown scorer. The number's incorrect. Knox has scored the first touchdown in every round one Buffalo game since Allen has been there, since Knox has been in the league. So everyone is aware of that. Just throwing that out there. He's 20-1 at DK. He's 5-1 anytime touchdown. Dawson Knox's targets are way down this year from where they've been in the past. Be very careful, which probably means Knox is probably going to score first. Just throwing that out there. Knox, only 22 catches on 33 targets this year.
Well, and what we have seen with Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator, now they are a very run-heavy team, and we see that with James Cook. So, yeah, I would be very careful with that one.
It's pretty funny. Cook with 1,000 yards, 1,009 this year. He got it on that last carry last week. Or that only carry last week, I should say. Shakir, by the way, was their leading receiver this year at 821. So, again, it's not like these Buffalo teams in the past where these are, as great as Allen is, even Allen's numbers aren't like eye-popping like they've been in the past. They're just really good, solid, consistent numbers this year from Buffalo, as opposed to the high leverage, like high variance, super high numbers, but the bad games were bad because of turnovers this year, which was not the case for Allen.
Just very effective on offense too, right? And their defense is held up enough. So I am excited about this. So I think we should have a good game here.
Allen is -140 anytime touchdown. Now, him and James Cook are the only two prices you'll have to lay today if you want to lay prices. You're probably okay on that Allen one, in all honesty. I don't love laying that type of lumber with a quarterback, but if this ball gets within the 2-yard line, we both know what's going to happen here.
It's in my pocket.
They're just going to sneak through. Yeah, I can't blame you on that. On the Denver side, if you want to, in all honesty, if you want to play running back roulette with the Denver side, I don't mind that. If you want to play running back roulette, if you want to take a near 3-1 on Javonte Williams or Jaleel McLaughlin, I don't mind that. You want to take a shot? Beatty's at 5-1, who is active today. Maybe you can take a shot on that as well. You can take some bombers anytime touchdown on the Denver side. Veli, by the way, a young receiver who scored last week, +450. Marvin Mims, who, of course, had that ridiculous touchdown against Cincinnati, +240.
6 on the year for
you
him.
You can take some bombers if you want to take the correct ridiculous tight end as well. Adam Troutman's at 7-1. There are bombers you can take on the Denver side, and there's also bombers on the Buffalo side, +450 on Ray Davis, 5-1 on Ty Johnson. Those guys, Quinn Morris, who has multiple touchdowns this year at 18-1. Like, you can take some bombers in this game if you really want to go boom or bust here, Alex.
What was the total? How much has that moved up? 47.5 was the opening?
1 point.
Okay.
1 point. 47.5 to 48.5.
Okay, not bad.
Yeah. You get to a key number, 28-20, which would be right on both numbers here,
right.
Would go under the total here today.
Are you thinking about teasing that Bills down? I know you do.
I would. I look, if you want to. So I have no play on the side. I think everything feels right. If we see a 7, which I don't think we will, best number in the market right now is on Buffalo, 7.5 even over at the Superbook. We see 7, yeah, I'm going to lay 7. But I don't want to go north of it. This kind of screams backdoor cover game more so than anything. Denver's good enough on offense where if this game gets to if Buffalo's up 30, let's say, I'm just going high on the numbers. I actually think this is an under game. But let's say it's 31-21 with 4 minutes to go. Denver's good enough to at least get into range and kick a field goal. We've seen that with Peyton where he's willing to kick field goals to get it to one score. Yeah. You got to be very careful here at this high of a number. I like Buffalo to win. Great season nonetheless for the Broncos. Super low win total of 5.5. They go way over it. Knicks, the improvement in season has been astounding, where he looked like the NFL game was way too quick for him the first month plus. And he's turned into a guy that, you know what? If he's a slightly above average league starter to slightly below average league starter for 7 to 10 years, yeah, it's in play. It's absolutely in play. I don't think he'll ever be an elite guy, but he'd be a reasonable starter for a good chunk of time in this league. But when it's all said and done, I like the Bills to advance. I want to find a dance partner for the teaser. It'll probably be the Rams up to 8.5 on Monday night. You go down to 2 on Buffalo, go up to 8.5 on the Rams. Really that would probably be my 2-team teaser. Actually, you know what? I'm probably going to play that during the break, actually, Alex.
I like it.
And take those 7.5s that are out there, take that down to 1.5, and then make it 8.5 on the Rams. I'm going to play that during the break, Alex. So good, we found a bet here.
I am too, and to kind of protect my bet, because there is a scenario where Buffalo just comes out, especially they are very efficient to start the game. So this could be all Buffalo that first half and take the Broncos some time with their young rookie quarterback and might not fully get there to this number. But just thinking about that Ravens game as well. And we know these elite teams, it's a big gap right now in the NFL. So just throwing that out there as well.
We've even seen it through 2 playoff games. By the way, Steelers, and we'll have this conversation with, at least one of us will have this conversation with Frank this week.
Not me.
Oh, I'll handle it later in the week. It might be time for an era change at Pittsburgh. As consistent as Tomlin has been, just getting to the playoffs, he hasn't won a playoff game in 7 years. 28 different NFL coaches have won a playoff game since the last time the Steelers and Mike Tomlin have won a playoff game, which is kind of astounding that number is almost equivalent to the entire league. And there are guys who are playing this weekend who can add to that list as well. But boy,
that's incredible.
It is Kevin O'Connell would be the one that can add to it to make it 29. But boy, it's they were. I know 28-14 doesn't seem too bad, but if you watch that game was really not competitive. And the Ravens, who are very, very good when they're at full throat, really put it on them last night.
I think Frank is in the same boat as you and Chris Andrews.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I don't know. Someone could trade for him. I think that might just benefit everyone. I still don't think Tomlin's still a solid to good coach. Does some weird things in game, but again, never had a losing season. Could keep it that way in Pittsburgh if they go to a new era. All right, let's take a quick break. When we get back, we go to the NFC side of things. Philadelphia, Green Bay. What a game. A game that we thought could have been the NFC title game in a 2-7 matchup. We'll break it down next. Sports by the Book on a Sunday morning.
Get ready to laugh with Punchlines with Frank Nicotero. Join Frank and his team of featured guests for your daily dose of comedy.
Reno, the Pittsburgh of the West.
Poison.
Yeah.
Poison.
Sports.
F for Falcons, Alex. We were talking Derek Carr for MVP after 2 games.
Who's we?
Okay, me. I was.
And the funniest social media posts.
People want to show off their food. Boom. Wiener on a guy's shoulder. It's the dark tones. We bleed blue.
It's your one-stop spot for great laughs and a good time.
But a bump.
Find us on YouTube at Punchlines FN. And join the chat live weekdays at noon Pacific for the ultimate blend of jokes, sports, and viral fun.
Welcome back in. It's Sports by the Book on a Sunday morning. Jeff Parles, Alex White alongside. Happy to be with you as always. There she is. Here on a Sunday morning, about 37 minutes before kick in Western New York. Alex, we go to game 2, though, on the schedule, about 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern in Philadelphia. We saw these two teams play in week 1 in Sao Paulo. A little bit different this go around, right?
A little bit different, yes.
A little different. That was a Philadelphia home game, by the way. That first matchup, technically, gonna be a lot cooler in this one. Even though, remember, that was winter technically in the Southern Hemisphere for that first game. Weather first. Philadelphia today. This looked like this was going to be a train wreck earlier in the week. Not the case. Weather is perfect for the second Sunday of the year. 35 degrees with limited wind in Philadelphia for this one. You will take that 100 times out of 100 this time of the year in that I-95 corridor. So weather will not impact here, Alex, like we thought it would earlier in the week. Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts out of concussion protocol and back. And Jordan Love on the Green Bay side, dinged up last week, totally fine to go here. Open 4, got as high as 5 behind us, and that's where it's at right now. Philadelphia 5, total 46. There's a bunch of 5.5 in the market as well on this game, Alex.
So this one, I don't have a strong play for you, side or total. I made the Eagles 4. I also have the total sitting at 47. So right there, even though I do think this will be more of a grinder, we've seen Philly's defense just improve so much, and both of these teams are run first. As good as their quarterbacks are, they both have the running backs to lean on here with Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley on the other side. The only play I actually have made in this game is Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown at -$2. I think they're going to be similar to the Ravens and how they used Derrick Henry yesterday. We saw Saquon Barkley take a week off and actually rest and not go for the record. So he's going to be well rested and ready for this matchup. I had the Eagles money line tied up with the Chargers. So that is no longer in play, and I did not chase it here. But ultimately, I think the Eagles move on. But looking at the Packers, I don't want to discredit them. And we've talked about this all year where they've beaten good teams. They haven't beaten any of the great elite yet. And this will be their second crack at the Eagles here.
So Green Bay, as you mentioned, an 11-win team in the regular season where you look at what they lost to. Throw out last week, which was insane that the Bears managed to blow up their long losing streak against Green Bay in that fashion, the way that it went down. But Green Bay so far this year, look, I did this with Denver. I'm going to do this with Green Bay. Here's Green Bay's wins this year. Indianapolis, Tennessee, the Rams, when the Rams were at their worst, the Cardinals, the Texans, the Jags, the Bears, Niners, Dolphins, Seahawks, New Orleans. Seahawks win 10 games. Rams obviously win double-digit games. And Texans won their division.
Yep.
Those are the only, of their 11 wins, 3 of them come against over 500. So there is a question. And again, when you go to the other over 500, we talked about 0-2 against Detroit, 0-2 against Minnesota, and a loss to Philadelphia. Those are the 3 best teams record-wise in the NFC this year. So I do have a little bit of a concern about Green Bay playing up. But Jalen Hurts hasn't played in 2 weeks. Hasn't played since the first quarter of week 16. It's been concussion protocol the last 2 weeks. I just wonder if there's any rust to be had here. And we'll have this conversation with Kansas City next week, even though I think they're more well-equipped to handle it because they've done it now more than plenty of times in the Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes era with resting guys and then having a bye. But I just wonder for Jalen Hurts, if the timing's off a little bit early, if Green Bay, who is a very opportunistic and underratedly good defense to me, makes Jalen Hurts struggle early in this game. Now, I'm going to do something I haven't really done all year, Alex. I'm going first half here. I like Green Bay first half. I like the under in the first half as well. I think this is a 10-10, 10-7 game at halftime. Make sure you find the threes out there, by the way, with Green Bay. Do not take a 2.5 because it's even money or plus money. No. That's a good way to lose your bet with the game landing potentially 3 first half. I like Green Bay plus 3 first half. I like the under in the first half. I also like the under in the full game as well. I'm not strong enough to get their full game on Green Bay because I think when it's all said and done, it's very possible that the will of that offensive line for Philadelphia and that great run game led by, of course, the more than likely offensive player of the year, Saquon Barkley, takes this game over. I like Philadelphia outright. If you moneylined a good number earlier in the week, I know someone who did. On the Philadelphia money line earlier in the week, right? We're going with, I do like the Eagles to advance. First half Green Bay, though, on the spread and the under for the full game and the first half for me today.
It's really interesting. When I first think of Green Bay in the first half, I thought they were bad in the first half because 2 games stick out to me, and that is just the Minnesota Vikings, and they were awful in the first half. But really looking at their numbers, they really lean on their run game with Josh Jacobs. He has the most carries in the first quarter of any running back. They're 4th in first quarter points, so I do like that angle, and we see the Eagles kind of struggle out of the gate as well. And you keep talking about both defenses being really good, and so I do like the under too. And looking at Philadelphia, 18 they held their opponents to, just scoring on 18% of their drives, and Green Bay 21. But can you go down the Philly schedule? Because according to some numbers, they did have the 31st toughest schedule.
Well, 14 wins for Philadelphia. And their crosses were the NFC South and the AFC North. So Philadelphia's wins, well, you know what, I'll do this better. Philadelphia's losses this year. That ridiculous game week 2 on Monday night that they lost to Atlanta, where Saquon Barkley catches the ball, they win that game.
Right.
Tampa, who destroyed them in week 4, as we remember, no receivers. And in week 16 against Washington. That's the game Jalen Hurts exited with a concussion. Their wins this year. They beat the Packers. They beat New Orleans. Remember that week 3 game, that bizarro game that was 15-12. If you kept remember, Sirianni kept making the wrong decisions in that game. And then Dallas Goedert completely bailed the Eagles out in that game.
Yep, second half.
Only 170 receiving yards, which was the highest total by margin this year by a Philadelphia pass catcher. Cleveland, Giants twice, at Cincinnati, Dallas twice, Jacksonville, Washington, Carolina, the Rams on the road, and Baltimore on the road in Pittsburgh. So it's interesting that their schedule is that weak. I don't think it was that weak based off of what I just went through. They didn't play a ton of elite teams, but to their credit, they beat Baltimore in Baltimore. Remember, that was a game where Philly really controlled that game as well. And they beat Green Bay. They beat the Rams when the Rams were not the injured mess that they were. Remember, that was the game where Barkley ran for 255 in that game on the Sunday night against the Rams. Yeah, it's interesting that the schedule numbers come out that week on Philadelphia. It's not. I wouldn't say it's an overly strong schedule, but I wouldn't say it's among one of the worst in the NFL.
It's from USA Today, and I always forget how to say his last name, but he's Jeff Sagarin. Oh,
so the Sagarin is the Sagarin ratings.
Sagarin
ratings. Yes.
Yes, because I actually, Jeff Fogle did a whole article on the touchdown percentage, offense and defense, and threw the schedule in there from Sagarin. So, I thought that was interesting too.
That is interesting. I wouldn't have fully expected that. Prop wise here, I'm gonna go anytime touchdown market first because even though this is an under game for me, I think there are some prices you can take advantage of. You're getting Jalen Hurts at plus money. Would take that. We know what happens when Philly gets to the 1-yard line, guys. We know what happens. If it wasn't for the tush push, Saquon Barkley might actually have won the MVP because Saquon Barkley would have had a realistic chance to break LaDainian Tomlinson's touchdown record if it wasn't for the existence of the tush push. So plus money, even money, definitely good on Jalen Hurts. Josh Jacobs, you only have to lay either $1.05 and there's even money in the market.
Wow.
I absolutely, if it loses, so be it. Green Bay, as you mentioned, especially early in the game, is establishing the run to open up the pass game and the play action game. Even money, minus 105 on Josh Jacobs, anytime touchdown. Count me in on that. It's funny that I have 2 touchdown props I love in a game that I think is a dead under. But when you're talking about the 2 guys that are going to run the ball in, yeah, I think that's good. If you want the bomber in this game, the bomber in this game is not as fun as the other one. But you can take a shot on Green Bay's backup running back Emmanuel Wilson if you want to. You could get a vulturing situation. We have seen that at times this year. You're getting about 9-1 on Emmanuel Wilson as anytime touchdown. That would be the bomber. I don't really like any of the other bombers in this game. Paul Melton, not really a 10-1. Malik Heath did make an incredible play last week down the stretch. 14-1, probably not. Can't take any of the guys from last week with Philadelphia. I mean, Ananias Smith at 16-1. He scored a touchdown last week. E.J. Jenkins scored a touchdown last week. He's 25-1 today. Can't really do that because it was Philadelphia playing their full backup squad a week ago, even though they beat the Giants last week.
I really do like that Jalen Hurts, though, especially if you're getting plus money. 14 touchdowns on the year, and you're right, Saquon sitting there at 13. But I have Saquon tied up with a Josh Allen, so that's why I picked him in there, because you can't really just lay that full price. But I am going to jump in Jalen Hurts, too, by itself, just in case. And I'm not really that worried about the Russ thing with Jalen Hurts. I think he'll be okay. And we haven't even brought up his receiving core, which is one of the best in the league, in A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. So I think he'll be just fine. And now that they do have Dallas Goedert back and healthy, so ultimately, I do like the Eagles side and that, at least that money line price there.
Real quick on the injury report way to go. Philadelphia is as healthy as they've been in a very long time. The only guys who are ruled out of this game as of this moment are Trevor Keegan and Byron Young. I will take, if you're Philadelphia, take that 100 times out of 100 with the way that everything's gone. On the Green Bay side, of course, they're going to be without Christian Watson, who tore his ACL last week. Really bad, really awful for plenty of reasons. From the football perspective from Green Bay, that's the guy who takes the top off the defense. So that's another reason also I like this under as well. Green Bay doesn't have that take off the top ability that they usually do with that.
How's their defense? Is there anyone out?
Zane Alexander's out with a concussion as of right now. So Jairi Alexander, though, of course, is not there anymore because of the knee injury. So again, we knew Jairi Alexander wasn't going to be there anyway. So we'll see for Green Bay. Again, relatively, for the guys who aren't on IR, relatively healthy, all things considered. One other prop that I will tell you real quick that I would consider playing here today. I would take Jordan Love over 19.5 completions. If Green Bay is chasing this game, which could end up being the case. Now, you could, again, it's an under game for me. It's a game that we know both teams want to establish the run. Could get a scenario where both guys throw less than 25 passes. There is an absolute scenario where that happens, where if that's the case, then Love's got to be pretty efficient at 19.5. But the way this is broken down here, only 31.5 on the total attempts for Love. Again, lower averages for both of these guys, lower medians for both of these guys. But again, it's 19.5 feels a little bit low, especially if Green Bay's chasing on the Love side. That's the one over that I'd be willing to play other than the touchdown scores.
19.5 completions, that is?
Yeah.
Okay. He had 30 attempts against Minnesota on the road, so might see a similar scenario.
Yeah, it would be if he attempts 30 passes at 20 or 30s, about obviously 2/3, so about 66% would be needed there.
He had 19 completions in that one, but they want to win this game, so he's hoping for more than that.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we get back, we got one more game to break down here on a Sunday morning Sports by the Book.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south of the border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book here on a Sunday morning. Jeff Parles, Alex White, Vinny Magliulo, and also to my left, our good friend Jimmy Vaccaro is here.
Yeah, you dropped your tickets off, so I brought them over.
I see that there's a well. Here's what I will tell you, and I know Minidar will probably say there's no way they were, man. He's right. This is in this hand. It's $22K to win 20 dimes on the Denver Broncos +8, and in this hand, just double that, 44,000 to win 40 dimes here on the Denver Broncos +8, which means you guys have moved to 7.5 on the game.
That is correct. You ought to be more careful with your tickets. You can't just leave them laying around, Jeff.
Oh, boy, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money on the Broncos.
He's what we would call an event player. Like, he doesn't show up during the course of the year unless there's something like this going on. But when it comes on, obviously the guy unstraps and he's ready to go. He's a nice guy. He's obviously somebody that knows the rules and whatever, just doesn't ask for anything, simply asks for what he wants to do. And let me clarify this, because a lot of people have been asking Jimmy, why would he do 2 tickets? Well, you look at it this way from his thing. You might only want to cash one for half that amount. He don't want this case, he doesn't want $120,000. He'd rather, in case he would make another bet and don't have to break a big ticket. So again, there's something to something all the time, especially when you get these type of players. Vincenz, throw it in there.
Well, I think also he came up and he bet the first ticket was the 20, and Chris didn't move it. And he said, well, can I bet some more? And Chris said, sure. So, which, again, not every bet moves a number. It depends. We're certainly, and when we were all in on Friday, we were talking about the fact that we knew that the Bills would be in a lot of teasers too. So it's not just the straight bets that impact how line movement is going to occur, but also multi-leg bets. Right, Jimmy? Well, money line parlays, and teasers and point spread parlays and things.
This is a fun time of the year for guys like me and Vincenz, because obviously we've been around this racket our whole lives. And when you see this, and now again, just say this and don't take it to heart that much. But why would he take the 8 if he could take a 9 earlier? Because he knows when he comes to town, he's going to get a good bet. He's going to be taken care of. He's going to be asked if he wants anything. So that means a lot to someone like him. And it's not like the worst number, taking 8 instead of 9.
Right.
So it's something like that too. But like I said, you see more and more of this every year. And it's not going to stop, because now obviously everybody's into the full swing of betting in casinos, or betting, different types of events. So again, it's neat. I enjoy it, and you get a lot of publicity out of it also.
A lot of, folks are much more comfortable with betting it and everything. In fact, the South Point is consistent with how the business is run. And no, by the way, so you have that ticket, and then if you look over behind us, there's a whole section of Bronco fans too. So they're jumping in as well. But there's been a lot of support for the Bills. We're never short of Bills' interest.
Vinny, did the Chargers knock out a lot to tickets for you guys?
So great question, Alex. Yeah, there's no question what the Charger result with the Texans winning outright. What that did was kill not just wagers that were on the Chargers, which to Jeff's chagrin, the game didn't fall Chargers through.
I didn't say it was going to yesterday, Vinny.
No, but whenever you describe it, the glee you see. but which is fine. Don't ever change, buddy. But it did, Alex, because the Chargers were also, kind of carrying over from the Notre Dame game the other day, the Ohio State game. And when you have these playoff games, as Jimmy can attest, you're always going to need to knock out at least one dog has to win outright. Mm-hmm. And that was the one. And
here's one of the things that, obviously, you should really wouldn't care what happens us behind the counter, but something like this where someone like us has been around a long time, I could tell already, all right, this guy took the +8. So they'll probably be bad for the house if Bills just cover. In other words, they win their bet, but they didn't cover the 9, so they're just teasing it. Yeah. So they're both live if something like that would happen. Yeah. So there's a lot of little things that happen out only because, again, I'm going back and showing my age here with my friends here. We might get one bet like this 30 years ago for the entire weekend. Mm-hmm. And even the wise guys, it's a different ball game. They didn't bet teasers a long time ago. So obviously your thing changed. The way that you do business, everything has changed also. So it's starting. We have another great day and obviously a little bit tomorrow. So let's go get them, kid. Yeah. Nice spread of games today, right? 10, 1:30, and then 5. I can run the numbers where we're at, right? Run them, go for it. And then Jimmy and I, because he runs a tight ship, man, we got to get back to work.
You got 15 minutes till kick.
Bills, as we just described, 7.5 now and 49 on the total, which is starting to tick up, right? We and again, there'll be more public over money in these games, public rooting for points. Eagles 5 and 46. That total's up, ticking up as well. And the Commanders and Buccaneers, this one here, holding steady at 3. And the total on this one is now up a full point from yesterday at 51. Tomorrow, Vikings 2.5 and 48. So great action. Again, the interest, the betting interest has not disappointed, and we had anticipated it being very strong. And in conjunction with the 2 college playoff games, we book them, and the folks are bet them just like these NFL playoff games. And so it's been great, and we're looking forward to a great day. And one of the strengths also for us behind the counter, when you have a game like this, they draw attention. So we'll get a lot of college basketball games today because the matchups are good. So there's always a reason if you understand this crazy racket and why you do things. You understand, what happened with moving the Viking game. We obviously had to make a lot of talking and telling people because they're the brand new people. But they're the people who understand that. It's now they'll be on their own next week or the week after. So this crazy business is getting crazier, but you know what? I'd rather do it this way than any other day. That's right. See you guys later.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. Thank you, Vinny.
All right.
All right. We have one more game to get to. Alex, it is the Sunday night game.
If you want me to cash this for you,
Jimmy, can I get unlimited use of the stamp?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Strong.
That's strong.
That's worth more than those tickets.
I was going to say, that's strong. Wow.
And he did say yes.
He said, that's on record. We have it. All right, Alex. Let's look at the Sunday night game. This doesn't jump off the page to some. All right, well, the Bucs, Commanders. Why wasn't this the game where the Texans were playing? They're middle of the afternoon. Well, this game is going to be a lot of fun. The total, let's start there. The total's been banged up to 51 behind us from 49.5, which is basically where it sat for the bulk of the week. Not overly surprising. The weather, by the way, since we've done the weather for all these things, it's only going to be 51 degrees in Tampa. How about that? That's chilly for Tampa.
I could handle that game.
No, I know.
That's
chilly for Tampa with limited wind.
But still.
Alex, this is a really fun matchup. These teams played in week 1. I'm throwing it completely out because the Commanders are a completely different team today than they were in week 1. But this is really a fun matchup with this being a toggler between 3 and 3.5, sitting at 3, and it's 3 market wide right now on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
The one thing I don't want to throw out is how high scoring it was, 37-20,
Sure.
and the fact that the Commanders are a completely different team. Remember, it took Jaden Daniels a while to throw a passing touchdown. Now, if you look at his median numbers on the road, it's 226 yards per game, median 2 touchdowns and no INTs. So I do think their offense is going to have some success, especially against Tampa Bay's defense, who ended up 29th in passing yards allowed. So I do think that they are going to give up some yards there as well. And then on the flip side, although Washington's defense did get better throughout the season, they still were 30th in rushing yards allowed. And we know how good Bucky Irving has been for this Tampa Bay side. And then Baker Mayfield's numbers at home are insane as well. So 4th team in points at Tampa Bay per game and 5th team in points with Washington. So hoping for a lot of offense. I did jump in at 49.5, but I still like it here at 51.
Don't mind it. I think this is a game where both teams are in the high 20s. I think this is the highest scoring game of the weekend as well, if you had those sort of props that were available to you before the games got rolling yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
This is a side, though. This is my favorite side of the weekend. I'm on Washington. Now, you have 2 defenses that I would say are in the bottom 3 of the 14 defenses that made it into the postseason here. But if you look at the Bucs defense, where you have a lot of good high-end, obviously Vita Vea on that defense is your calling card. But this is a defense that I would have liked to have seen be a little bit better down the stretch. Now, they had a great second half against the Chargers and on December 15th. Dallas basically did whatever they wanted against them for most of the game, which was might have cost them the playoffs if it wasn't for Atlanta melting down the last 2 weeks. Thank you again, Falcons. Having the decency to not be in the playoffs was nice of you. They were better against Bryce Young than other teams had been down the stretch, held him to about 4.5 yards per play. And then last week was a weird one because New Orleans, up until the last 2 drives of the game, was at about 5.9 yards per play. Took till the end of the game for Tampa to really get their act together against Rattler, who really done nothing in the league except for against Tampa the first time and then coming in a relief against Washington, these same Commanders. Jaden Daniels is a totally different animal than realistically speaking, for what Tampa has seen. I mean, if you look at their schedule, like the closest comp is Young, right? I mean, for what they've seen since Mahomes on November the 4th. And by the way, that's the only game of the year that Kansas City scored 30 points in, was that game against Tampa Bay. So low-end defense for me, great quarterback matchup. I'm going to take the more unique quarterback, the young guy, and a head coach I trust more in Dan Quinn over Todd Bowles. I'm taking the Commanders out right here to advance, and that could bring up a hell of a game with them in Detroit, assuming Philadelphia handles their business earlier in the day.
Vinny left just a little bit too early.
Oh, he did.
Because we do have 2-way action, because I do like Tampa
Vinny,
Bay.
no!
So it's interesting, and you made really good points, and you're going more defense-oriented, and I do think Washington's defense is better than Tampa's, but I'm going with the experienced quarterback here. Baker Mayfield's been in this spot already, and his numbers at home this year, median 3 touchdowns. It is 1 INT, so might want to look at that prop too, but completing 72% of his passes, 295 passing yards. Him and Mike Evans and what they have done offensively, I think it'll be enough to get over and cover this 3 against the Commanders.
And look, this is your classic 3, like classic 2-way action game that again, if you told me Tampa wins this game, I'm not overly surprised. You're dealing with Baker. By the way, Baker threw 41 touchdowns this year. What an amazing year for Mayfield and Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator, who should be getting a head coaching job in this cycle. And if not, we'll get one next year. More likely than not, may even get the Tampa job if they underachieve next year. But that's a different discussion for a different time. Prop-wise here, because you and I like the over in this game. Real quick, Brian Robinson Jr. is the anytime touchdown that I'm looking at, plus 150.
Yes.
You can do a little bit better than that as well. Daniels is pushing 2-1 if you want to take a shot on him as well. None of the Bucs guys are really well priced, at least from what I'm looking for. I'm not interested in laying $1.60 on Bucky Irving. I'm not interested in laying a price on Mike Evans. Rashad White at almost $3 is a little bit interesting, but I just don't know if you're going to get the volume you need close to the goal line in order to get that. But I think you and I are in simpatico on Brian Robinson Jr. being the best anytime touchdown in this game.
Yes, especially if you're getting a plus price there. He's just been so good for their run game, and I think the Commanders will definitely utilize him. But I didn't really do much. Mike Evans did not score last week, though, so that does make me a little bit interested in that one. I do think Baker Mayfield will find him in the end zone. But, yeah, over best play for me in this one.
Taking Mayfield's pass attempts over 33.5 as well. Again, I think this is an over game.
Yep.
I think that Tampa also a weak running team, even though they've been better this year than they were when they were the worst running team in football the previous 2 years. They're better, but this is, again, I also think Tampa could be chasing here. This could be like one of those games where Baker's throwing 45 passes. So I like Baker over 33.5 pass attempts. I also like both, taking one from Frank, the Chucker bet. I like both of these guys over 35.5 on the longest reception. I think big plays galore in this game between the Commanders and the Bucs.
Especially a prime time, that being the night game. I like that one as well. Both those quarterbacks are more than capable.
Our guy Ryan McCormick earlier took Baker to throw a pick earlier in the week on that. So again, we're all on the same avenue on this. All right.
Really fun chat really quick. So
yeah, please.
Do appreciate everybody jumping in here. Minidar is in there saying go Broncos, and Agent 87 as well. Flo is here. Ben.
Flo is wrecking havoc.
Yes, he is. Vicarious Vegas, JR, good to see you in here as well. And Keith Lyle. So I think I got everyone. Oh, and Damon.
I don't know who Keith Lyle is. I know a Kyle, but I don't know a Keith Lyle on that. All right, Alex, you got the whiteboard ready?
I do have the whiteboard ready. I need a bounce back here today. So Saquon Barkley is on here, which I normally would not put a big favorite like that. Amari Cooper over 25.5. You can get better numbers if you want to lay more. I went with a higher number, -117. Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown, and Commanders in Tampa Bay over. I'm going to have to put 51 on there since that's what it is now, but 49.5 for myself.
Amari Cooper has been so weird with Cooper since coming over. Had a pretty quick impact, then got hurt, and has really been non-effective in Buffalo. But this would check out as a game where everyone gets reminded, oh, yeah, Amari Cooper's pretty good. And is actually around here. Again, Cooper had a touchdown against the Jets on the 29th, so that was a little bit better. Before that, I mean, he'd basically been invisible other than that Ram game where he had 14 targets but only caught 6 passes in that game against the Rams. But that's 25.5, super, super low.
Did you get that teaser in? Oh, that game's about to start.
I got it. I'm good.
Okay, you got the teaser.
Teaser, well, Commanders, anytime touchdown. Brian Thomas Jr. is not playing today, Sean. I don't know how that got into the mix here. But Jalen Hurts, Commanders, over on the Bucs and the Commanders earlier in the week, so would have the extra like your Broncos play does.
Right.
And then we're gonna have that teaser, Rams and Bills put together, which will count for tomorrow. All right. Good luck, everybody. Day 2 of the playoffs.
Yes.
Alex and Kenny are back at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Rams Vikings full preview. Ryan and I are back for a Monday edition of Football Frenzy, continuing the preview of the Rams and the Vikings. All right, Drew Dog, Sean, thank you as always. I'm Jeff Parles. We'll see you again next time. Sports by the Book here on a Sunday.